23 stab wounds, one man's trust destroyed it all. March 15th, 44 BC, the Senate floor at Pompey's theater. Caesar's lying there, not dead yet, but bleeding out, his toga's soaked through. Around him, senators are stepping back, wiping their hands on their clothes. Some are breathing hard, one of them is Brutus, and I've read the contemporary accounts myself. Caesar's last words weren't some grand soliloquy, they were a question, a betrayal so personal it stopped him cold. Let's rewind, 3 months earlier. Caesar's on top of Rome, actually on top of it. Consul, dictator, the man who conquered Gaul. He's held a triumph. Crowds lined the streets. Senators gave him honors that made them uncomfortable. And that's where this story really begins, not with a knife, but with fear. The Republic, the real one, not the name they kept using, had been dying for decades. But these senators, they still believed in it, or told themselves they did. Caesar was supposed to be their peer. Instead, he was becoming a king. And Romans, they hadn't had a king in 500 years. The idea alone made their skin crawl. Brutus was the key, not because he was the strongest conspirator, he wasn't, but because Caesar trusted him, completely. Brutus was descended from the man who founded the Republic. His mother, Servilia, had been Caesar's mistress. Some whispered Brutus might even be Caesar's illegitimate son. The personal angle here is crucial. This wasn't abstract politics, it was family. The conspirators, there were around 60 of them, started meeting in secret sometime in January. Cassius was the organizer, cold, ambitious, brilliant at manipulation. He knew Brutus had philosophical doubts about Caesar. Stoicism, duty to the state. Cassius used that. He worked Brutus like a locksmith works a mechanism, finding the pressure points. Here's what gets overlooked. Caesar knew something was wrong. He had warnings. A soothsayer came to him, actually approached him in the street, and told him to beware the ides of March. That's March 15th. Caesar laughed it off, publicly. But his wife, Calpurnia, she had nightmares the night before. She begged him not to go to the Senate. Caesar went anyway. That's the thing about men in power, they convince themselves they are untouchable. Or maybe he just couldn't show fear. Not in front of the Senate. Not with everything he'd built. So he put on his toga, kissed his wife goodbye, and walked into Pompey's theater around mid-morning. The conspirators had chosen their moment carefully. There was a vote scheduled, something about military funding for an Eastern campaign. Caesar wanted approval before he left Rome. The senators knew he'd be there. They positioned themselves around the chamber. Each one had a knife. Some historians call them daggers. The distinction matters less than you'd think. The first wound came from behind. Someone stabbed him near the shoulder. Caesar spun around. That's when the others closed in, not all at once. It wasn't a frenzy. It was methodical, coordinated. They took turns. Each senator his turn to stab. A ritual almost. A ceremony of murder. And then Brutus. The moment Caesar sees him, sees his friend, his trusted ally, knife in hand, that's when something breaks in him. Not physically, psychologically. The accounts say he stopped fighting. He pulled his toga over his head. Maybe it was dignity. Maybe it was defeat. Maybe he finally understood that the republic he'd fought for had just murdered him. 23 stab wounds. The autopsy, yes, they did an autopsy, counted each one. Some senators stabbed him multiple times. Overkill, literally. It wasn't about murder. It was about making a statement. About cleansing the republic through violence. About collective guilt transforming into collective action. Here's what the conspirators didn't anticipate, the chaos after. They thought Rome would celebrate, that the republic would rise again restored. Instead, panic. The senators fled the city. Caesar's supporters mobilized. The people rioted. Within months, Rome was in civil war. The thing they'd killed Caesar to prevent, the destruction of the republic, happened anyway. Brutus ran. He couldn't stay in Rome. For years he was hunted. Eventually he ended up in Philippi, in Greece, facing Caesar's heir Octavian in a final battle. He lost, and rather than be captured, he fell on his sword. The same kind of blade he'd used in the Senate. Full circle. The Republic didn't survive either. Octavian took power, renamed himself Augustus, and became the first emperor. The very thing the conspirators had murdered to prevent. Rome got its king anyway. Just took a few years and a lot more blood. So what do we learn from this? Conspiracy born from principle doesn't guarantee noble outcomes. Trust once shattered can't be repaired by the blade. And sometimes the thing you kill to prevent is exactly what your killing makes inevitable. Caesar understood something in those final seconds. The Senate had just proved that the Republic was already dead. They just finished burying it. Subscribe. Every week there's another assassination that rewrote history, and the conspiracies surrounding them are stranger than fiction.